So this is pretty much the same Shigeki list we played a couple of days ago, but with the new Kami of Bamboo Grove's Alchemy cards, and with me having shifted some cards around to hopefully be a little more well-positioned against the metagame on ladder, maybe? I don't know. I'm probably still going to get upset when I get paired against dragons every time it happens. But so for those of you who don't know, Kami of Bamboo Groves is a new card from the Neon Dynasty Alchemy bundle. It is a 1/1 for 1 that when it enters the battlefield lets you put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped, or you can discard it to conjure 2 cards named Forest into your hand. It's a little different than a lot of other effects that have these kind of cycle this thing, go get a land from your deck effect, because conjuring the forest into your hand means that it doesn't have any requirements in your mana base. I don't have to play a ton of forests to make this card work. So the Shigeki archetype was the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this card. I knew I wanted to explore it because it seems strong, but Shigeki is a deck that absolutely wants to make all of its land drops as much as it can, and it can really benefit from a turn 1 land drop. And Kami of Bamboo Grove seems like something that would be synergistic with Shigeki looping. So we're going to see how that goes. I also added more Discover the Formulas and got rid of Planeswalkers because, I don't know, I don't care about winning the game. I just want to draw more cards. It's probably a mistake. We'll see how it works. I should probably be playing Siphon Insight in here somewhere, to be honest. But I'm not here to make good decisions, so let's go. Oh, supposedly they also fixed a bunch of other glitches, up to and including one that stopped you from being able to find matches well, if you were logged in for too long. And if that is the case, color me excited. Alright, we're on the play. We have 3 land drops, a Syncopate, and a Discover the Formula eventually, and some Meathook Massacres. So, I don't know, all we need to do is draw lands, and I'm pretty sure we're playing 28, maybe 29 lands. I didn't actually check. Actually, how many lands are we playing? We have 24 remaining in the deck. We've drawn 3, that's 27. We have Bala Ged Recovery is the only dual land. Okay, 28 lands. That's a reasonable number. The reason I cut a bunch of the modal double-faced cards for regular lands is that you can't put modal double-faced cards into play with Kami. So I tried to do as much as I could to maximize the number of turn 1 untapped green sources. And to maximize the number of lands that are viable to put into play. Yeah, Voldaren Bloodcaster's fine. Considering that we're probably likely to be able to get some value out of Meathook Massacre here, I'm okay just letting that Bloodcaster resolve. The Go Blank is actually, possibly one of the best draws that we could have had for enabling Meathook Massacre, because now our opponent's incentivized to keep low-cost cards and discard medium-cost stuff, which plays out more into the Meathook Massacre. That is, in fact, exactly what appears to be happening for the time being. Sweet. Okay, well, I don't want to play the Kami because we don't have anything to ramp into. So I think what I'm going to do is just make our land drop. And this is the part where we drew Kami not really early, so now we just get to turn it into a divination that hits land drops. I really don't want my opponent having a Sanguine Brushstroke, though. That kind of sucks. Especially with the Voldaren Bloodcaster in play. That really would be far too much inconvenience for me to handle. Especially if they end up top-decking another Sanguine Brushstroke and they just have 4 or 5 blood tokens sitting around. Don't want that. So let's go and get 2 forests. Let us keep hitting the land drops for a while. I could play Meathook Massacre there. Maybe it's almost correct too, but I think hitting land drops on curve is more important than removing my opponent's creatures right now. Especially when drawing Shigeki meant that I'd have a blocker for Shambling Ghast anyway. Any thoughts on the economy announcement? I sure wish that there were actual announcements. Does that qualify as thoughts? Opponent's got nothing. We lack for blue mana. Which I suppose means that I'm going to Meathook for 1 and then activate Shigeki. Okay. Well, that does deny us a life that we wish we had gained. So, that's unfortunate. But, hey, we got Meathook Massacre on the board. I could do... No, I can't do 1 damage here. I need to remember that I can't attack with Shigeki. I somehow keep forgetting that. Retrieve socks. Alright, we'll do that in between sideboard. Well, our opponent has a lot of mana suddenly. Okay. Agadeem's Awakening happens. Whoop. Thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. More Shambling Ghasts. They never play around the second Meathook. Alright. Pop Shigeki. And I can't put either of these on blue. Okay. Alright, still lacking that second blue source, awkwardly enough. We'll Meathook Massacre again. So I could set up for a 1x Shigeki to get back... That's actually probably what I should do. Shigeki for 1, getting back the Barkchannel Pathway so that I can play that on blue next turn. Oh, or... Okay, there we go. So I can still do that. Shigeking for 1 isn't exactly, like, the most exciting, but unlocking Discover the Formula is probably better than having a Shigeki right now. Oh. Alright, opponent draws a card, and draws a card, and we lose 4 life. Unfortunate. Yeah, I do hope that Arena winds up finding some way to make it cheaper to actually play the game in an enjoyable way. That would be ideal. Alright, let's get back that Barkchannel Pathway. This feels like a weird thing to be spending 4 mana on, but here we are. Hey, Skyturtle. Radical. Okay, let's go ahead and discover the formula. I don't think there's anything I'm likely to want to play here, but hey, alright, March of Wretched Sorrow. That's pretty nice. So, I can march the Shambling Ghast. I don't really want to get hit by Hive of the Eye Tyrant, though. Technically, casting a removal spell before our opponent has more opportunities to draw sacrifice spells would be important, because we do want March to actually resolve and gain us life. But I think Hive of the Eye Tyrant is something that I want to kill badly enough that I'm willing to risk not actually being able to kill something. Looks like our opponent doesn't go for that route, though. Alright, I am willing to attempt to kill the Shambling Ghast in order to gain some life. The fact that I have a bunch of backup Discover the Formulas makes me not, like, hyper concerned about being resource efficient with my removal spells. Isn't Painful Bond just insanely stupid broken, especially in Historic where Luris is legal? Is that the 2-mana instant draw 2 that doesn't have any downsides if you don't put expensive cards in your deck? In which case, yes, that card is very silly. Alright, let's discover the formula. Found some commies and some counter spells. Good enough for me. Do I want to hold up Syncopate, or do I want to cycle a Kami and play another Kami in order to keep making land drops? It's a bummer that Skyturtle doesn't cost less to channel when we have Discover the Formula. Ah, well, I guess I'm just going to pass here. I'm probably going to cycle a Kami, Soul Shatter, and then maybe Syncopate something if I'm lucky, but probably not. But mostly, I just want to hold up the ability to Syncopate a... what is it? Sanguine Brushstroke, if the opponent has one at this point. I guess I could also get back Shigeki. Depends on what the opponent gets with Hive of the Eye Tyrant here. Is anyone able to tell me why Brawl cards aren't Brawl legal anymore? I have no idea which Brawl cards. That's an interesting bug. Alright. Well, so now the opponent wants to Hive the Eye Tyrant something. If they go for Shigeki, we Colossal Skyturtle it back in response. That is, in fact, what they go for. So that is, in fact, what we do. One, two, three, four. Can Shigeki for 4 next turn, which will include a Marsh that has had some cost reduction done to it. It's too bad Kami of Bamboo Groves doesn't have a reach. Not doing the world's best Arboreal Grazer impression in that respect. Meathook Massacre for 0. Oh no. So I could Force Spike that for 1. But they have 2 treasures. More land drops. Cool. Guess we're running into a problem where I technically have too many Discover the Formulas. Yeah, Citystalker Connoisseur is fine. I don't mind discarding this Discover the Formula that I have too many of anyway. Opponent chooses to activate Hive. Attacks us for 5. Attempts to get rid of cards. Knowing kind of full well that we're just going to get stuff back with Shigeki in response. So I get to get 4 cards. We're going to get Skyturtle. We're going to get March. We're going to get the cheapest Discover the Formula. And I guess we're going to also get more Marches, because why not? Flare land drop. Pass the turn? Yeah, probably pass the turn. Invoke Despair? Alright, well, I think we can survive this while still putting a bunch of cards in our hand. So we're going to do that. We're going to Discover the Formula. How many cards do I have in my deck? Oh, I have plenty. Alright. This ought to be fine. So Syncopate this unless they pay 3, and Syncopate only costs 2 mana because we've stacked a bunch of cost reduction on it. Then we let the opponent go to combat. And the opponent attacks with a bunch of stuff. And let's see, how does this work? So we can doot and doot and doot. Skyturtle back our Shigeki. Just to figure out how much mana I have left. Then we've got a March that costs 2 less. So we get to do that for 3. And that costs 2 mana. And we gain 3 and lose 1. And the other March, I guess, isn't actually lethal on the Gravelighter. So I guess we just let that happen. Then let's go ahead and play a Citystalker Connoisseur. Get rid of that card in the opponent's hand. See if they do anything in response. They don't. So then we're going to cycle a Kami because I want to keep making land drops. And we're going to make a land drop. And then let's see, this costs 1 less. So I can do it for 6, 7, 6. So let's do that for 6 and hit the Gravelighter and gain some life. And then play this Kami so that we can make a land drop. Oh, I love having this much mana to work with. Is this the part where the opponent concedes? Or do you want to keep going, opponent? Because I don't think you're going to run me out of life anytime soon. The beautiful thing is that with this deck, we can theoretically get like 40 lands into play, which is not a kind of experience I've usually gotten to enjoy. Oh, okay. I guess they do actually get to steal something with Hive here. It makes me a little more sad. Alright, we'll go ahead and double block. They choose to kill our Citystalker Connoisseur. Well, I'm surprised. Okay, we get more blue lands. Go to combat, attack with our Kami, get the opponent down to 20 life, pass the turn. How many lands are we working with here? 5, 10, 15 mana. So that means I get to get back, what, 6 things with Shigeki? Or 5 things if I also want to cycle Kami. And I probably want to cycle Kami. Sanguine Brushstroke. Oh, that's not going to be acceptable. Alright, so let's go with 1, 2, 3, 4, actually. And we will get back Discover the Formula, a cheap Syncopate, a cheap March. Oh, and I lost the turtle. Okay. Well, in that case, I probably got to go get another Discover the Formula. And let's see, then. Oh, I shouldn't have let the auto-tapper pay. I wanted one more blue source than this. Alright, I guess we're not going to Discover the Formula this turn. Alright, so we're going to Syncopate for 2 by paying a single mana. And we're gonna cycle our Kami of Bamboo Grove so we can keep making some land drops. Oh, I could even use blood tokens to turn these forests into real cards, technically. That'd be, like, kinda cool, I guess. Alright, let's Discover the Formula, reduce some costs. Still got plenty of cards in library. Oh look, another Shigeki and a Skyturtle. Cool. Gonna pay 1 mana to go blank our opponent. Having their graveyard gone seems like it'd probably be helpful. Attack the opponent for 1. Alright, we'll discard Citystalker Connoisseur. I mean, technically I could play that out and do damage to our opponent, but I don't see why I would do that. Opponent has 4 mana remaining, so let's go ahead and Shigeki. Actually, let's Skyturtle back Syncopate. So if I cast Discover the Formula for 3, I'm going to have 4 mana remaining. That should be plenty. So let's Discover the Formula to make this Syncopate cheaper. Then we're going to Syncopate for 5. Syncopating for 5 costs 3 mana. I'm curious to see how long the opponent goes without conceding. Play our forest. Attack with a Kami. Meathook for 0. And just in case the opponent plays something that I'm March with Wretched Sorrow, that way we can gain 1 additional life. Is Kami really better than a ramp spell with a real body like Azusa? I believe so, because the Kami body has no opportunity cost, and I think the channel ability is actually excellent with this. So, like, normally if Kami or Arboreal Grazer or Azusa isn't in your opening hand, it's a bad card. But the fact that Kami is often a very relevant top deck in this deck, I think makes it just significantly better. Let's go with Syncopate and Discover the Formula and Kami and Skyturtle and I don't know, another Syncopate? And then we got 20 cards in library, so let's just cast this Let's cycle the Kami. I want to keep making land drops. Alright, so we can play a forest and cycle a Skyturtle and get back the Kami and play the Kami and play the forest, and I really got to figure out a way to fix the hand size problem here, huh? Okay, well, I guess we can discard a Syncopate, a March. Oh, I should have marched my own Kami. Alright, missed it. And I don't need a Citystalker Connoisseur. Our opponent doesn't have a hand anyway. Seagate Restoration would make sense, yeah. I also... What ways in Standard are there to cycle our library or our graveyard back into our deck? Alright, let's go ahead and 1, 2, 3. And get back Skyturtle and Kami and Kami. And we're going to cycle a Kami. Does Harness Infinity actually put cards in your library, though? Then we play a Kami. Now we put a land into play. And I guess maybe we should end this faster, so let's play a Skyturtle. I've still got Bala Ged Recovery that can target our Shigeki anyway. Alright, swing with the Kami. I don't really need this extra forest at this point. So I think we discard a forest and a go blank. Oh no, my blue source. I'll get a blue source. Well, they are trying to deck me. Kudos to them for that. Alright, don't need a go blank, don't need this extra forest at the moment. Oh, the counter spell. Huh. That's actually an interesting option, isn't it? Let's see. This discards Infernal Grasp? Sure. How much mana do I have? I have the ability to do it for 10 plus 4 is 14? I believe that's how this works. Yes, so we're going to gain 14 life. We're going to make a land drop, and we're going to swing, and we're going to pass the turn. The channel option makes Kami better in matchups where you already have the upper hand. Azusa instead helps you in tougher matchups. Huh. I don't know if I agree with that. I think this is the kind of deck that wants to make land drops in every matchup, and having access to a divination that's guaranteed to hit land drops is usually just a good thing. Maybe want to do this for 1 extra, but I don't want to bother to figure out math. Alright, should be able to kill the opponent here. Let's go ahead and get this, and this, and that, and this. And that one looks cool. And, I guess I'll get a Syncopate too. And I guess a Kami? Oh, that wasn't even anywhere near all of my mana. Oh, whoops. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and 4 plus 4 is 8. Do 8 damage to the Blood Artist. What's the opponents out here? Our clock and me decking, if I don't actually pay attention. Okay, active player, non-active player order. So on their turn, my triggers resolve first? Is that right? I don't actually remember if that's right, so let's do it both ways just to make sure. So for starters, we do it on my turn. I could actually spend a second thinking about this. Yeah, okay, that's not how that works. I thought not. Okay, then on their upkeep, we kill our creature, and they die. That was the right one. Okay. Mono black Blood Drain. Not the most stellar matchup, although Meathooks and March Wretched Sorrow are nice to have. More creature lands would be nice. That's probably true. I could probably play like a second Hall of the Storm Giants. Maybe a Hive of the Eye Tyrant. I could see that fitting in the list. What am I supposed to play against the opponent? I don't actually have good removal to sideboard in. Nah, we're good. New friends fitting in with Shigeki pretty well. Seems like a solid fit. I kind of get the feeling that my Shigeki's gonna get killed, which would be sad. But if not, that would be exciting. Deadly Dispute on Cursebound Witch. Well, that doesn't exactly let me block a creature this turn with Shigeki, unfortunately. Maybe the opponent goes and plays a 1-mana creature with that treasure. Well, they have priority for something. Nope, just a duress. I'm assuming that probably takes March of Wretched Sorrow, then? Okay, no, took go blank. I don't entirely understand why, but I'm willing to believe that the opponent has good reasons for what they do. Oh. Well, my Shigeki is dead. Rest in peace, poor Snake Druid. Trespasser's Curse. Okay, I guess it's a good thing I don't play particularly many creatures. So I'm just going to sit here with these March of Wretched Sorrows. Yep, this is the part where the opponent plays Invoke Despair. Yeah, that's bad that I don't have a counterspell already. True, true. Yeah, they're probably just sitting on more of those would be my guess. I wonder if I should be boarding in Negates in this matchup. Let's get rid of land and March. Sanguine Brushstroke, indeed, not my favorite. Gain some life, remove a Blood Artist. I am a pretty big fan of Shigeki. I think that it's just a very fun card to play. The patterns are entertaining. I don't know if the power level is absurd, but, like, it's fun. Discover the formula in response to Go Blank. Let's see, get rid of land and Infernal Grasp in this spot, I believe. Not the best time to have a Skyturtle. The rest takes Syncopate. Yep. We are not an archetype that is inherently resilient to opponent just drawing all the go blanks and draw threes, to be honest. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card. Okay. Huh. Well, to be fair, Tergrid is actually an extremely strong answer to my deck. That's sideboard tech for you, alright? Luckily, I think we have an answer to that. Oh, I don't. I can only do this for 3. Alright. Okay, Discover the Formula is a good draw. Part of why I wanted to go up to 4 Discover the Formulas was specifically so I could have answers to deck that play Go Blank. So, nice that this is actually functioning. So we're going to take some damage. Shambling Guest. Sure. The Valerian Bloodcaster is pretty annoying here, but at least our opponent doesn't have a second Sanguine Brushstroke yet. Cool. Meathook Massacre. Yeah, I'm assuming I just have to clear the board here. Gives our... can Roadside Reliquary be cracked at instant speed? Yeah, it can. Alright, that's going to be annoying. Opponent's going to draw a lot of cards and be able to do a lot of damage, so we're probably dead if their 3 draw steps here manage to find a Sanguine Brushstroke. Roadside Reliquary draws 2. Looks like they're going Agadeem's Awakening to get back Turgid. That's cute. Right, well, bit of a bummer that I can't exile Kami of Bamboo Groves to the March here. I can leave up 1 mana, which lets me hold up Syncopate as a Force Spike, but that doesn't accomplish very much. If I get rid of Go Blank, then I can hold up Syncopate for slightly more. What if so if I cycle Kami, make my land drop, and then exile Go Blank... I'm probably supposed to do that. I think I'm supposed to make these land drops. They get my 1/1, which I guess sort of is not stellar. But not really the end of the world. So 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you can get 3 things back with Shigeki. Do you find Alchemy to be more varied meta, where there are more viable decks compared to Standard? Yes. That was a really weird choice that they cast that instead of cracking blood tokens. I find Alchemy to be a much more varied metagame than Standard. There's just more viable archetypes that are all roughly equivalent in power level. The high power level stuff has been brought down a little, and the low power level stuff has been brought back up. I think it would be very, very difficult for them to be doing even something remotely competent in terms of balancing and not have Alchemy just automatically have more viable decks than Standard. Let's see. I don't see much of a way out of this. I can get Meathook, but currently I take damage for each Meathook. The opponent's got 8 sitting on the board. So if I Meathook, I'm going to take 8, gain 4, go to 6. Opponent 8s me. So instead I have to march. I think I just have to tap out here. Yeah, it's just very fundamentally difficult to beat Sanguine Brushstroke decks that find multiple Sanguine Brushstrokes, I think. I think if you can afford to play Alchemy, it is just a more fun format to play than Standard. So I would like it to be accessible in the future for more people. Because all of the digital design decisions I have strongly agreed with in terms of actual gameplay implementation. Yeah, implications. Deadly Dispute, yes. Take damage, opponent draw a card, me sad. Shocked that they got rid of the Hive and then played a Swamp, when playing the Hive would seem much better to me. How did I find Elden Ring? I found it extremely enjoyable. I was worried that it might be, like, too unapproachable, but it was easier to get into than I was expecting, and I found the experience of feeling bad at something and then like I was improving at it to be something that I enjoyed a lot. And only cards like Key and Formula are good things to have in a competitive setting. You don't think so? I agree that I don't like Key's design because it's a little high variance, but Discover the Formula I think is a totally fine card. Like, there is nothing about Seek as a mechanic, or rather, Seek is less variance than Draw a card, I think. Like, if Discover the Formula was a card that said draw 3 cards, then non-land cards in your hand perpetually gain, this spell costs 1 less to cast, from like a competitive standpoint, it would be a card with higher and lower swings than the current implementation. It's about modifying the cost of a hidden card. So then, is the concern about modifying the cost that hidden information like that puts too much onus on the competitive player to keep track of things that are mentally hard to keep track of all at once? I'm trying to debate if I should play Siphon Insight. Probably not. But I probably should actually not be playing Infernal Grasp and not be playing a Soul Shatter and be playing 2 Negates. Come to think of it, the opponent actually has a lot of high impact cards that are negatable. It's really snowbally. Kind of, but lots of 6-mana cards are inherently extremely snowbally. That's kind of just part of the play pattern of playing 6-mana cards. It's nothing particularly unique about Discover the Formula, right? We can keep this. It's not, like, actually good, but it's keepable. Probably just want to keep my land drops here. Bloodcaster, I think I'm willing to hit with March for 1. In the interest of just trying to have life in the long term. Shambling Ghast is fine. Continue making land drops. So here's the part where Kami is particularly awkward because I don't actually want either mode very much. I'm simultaneously flooding and have no use for ramp, but I think that this kind of situation is not likely to happen very often. I suppose I'm probably supposed to play the Kami, represent trading with the Shambling Ghast. Maybe I'm supposed to cycle it actually to play around my opponent playing Go Blank. Maybe that's supposed to be what the use is in this spot. Don't think I can let my opponent have a divination here. Now we can't counter Deadly Dispute? Oh, in the sense that they can play the 5-drop? Yeah. But I guess we couldn't have done that anyway. Ooh, Citystalker Connoisseur is on good timing. My issue with Discover the Formula is that it occupies a huge block of design space and prevents a lot of potentially interesting effects from existing. It's 6 mana, yeah, so it needs to have a major impact to be playable, but it's so open-ended of an effect that it's very possible to have truly broken combos with it. Maybe? don't think we've really had any majorly broken combos show up with it yet, though. Certainly we've seen a lot of broken combos show up with Citystalker Connoisseur. Okay. I'll accept that trade. It did have a broken combo. Did it? Lear got nerfed. I don't know if that's like a broken combo with Lear, or just like Lear was a good card at one point. Should I go blank here? I guess I could just loot away Go Blank, can't I? That's probably more useful than actually casting it. Am I okay with this first Sanguine Brushstroke resolving if it means that I have Negate for their 5 mana draw 3? I think I want to see what I draw first. I would be happy to deck Doctor for you. Okay, Kami makes me decide that I want to let Sanguine Brushstroke resolve because I'd rather cycle Kami here. The first Sanguine Brushstroke, when I've got this much life, I don't think is a super critically important card. The second Sanguine Brushstroke is, but we don't got to get there yet. So specifically for the deck, if you can export it from Arena and put it into some kind of paste bin style thing. Yeah, I just can't let my opponent have draw X's. That way I can import it and take a look at it on stream. Opponent really doesn't want to use blood tokens, huh? Beam's Awakening for 4. Yeah, that is painful. Good timing, Go Blank. Good timing. Yeah, situations like this are why we have the 4 draw spells and the 4 Shigekis. But we don't get to do much without that. I think I'm just supposed to trade off Kami here for some extra life and hope to top deck one of the 3 board wipes. Well, failing that, March of Wretched Sorrow isn't terrible. Should I have done that before allowing the opponent to draw a card that could potentially be a sacrifice outlet? Yes. Luckily, not punished. 2, 5, 7. Might as well exile the Go Blank as well, because it's going to die to duress. Which raises the question, am I supposed to get rid of Blood Artist or Citystalker Connoisseur? Citystalker Connoisseur prevents more damage, but Blood Artist potentially does more damage if we actually find a board wipe. Alright, well, I think finding a board wipe is my way out of this position, so let's play as though we're going to find a board wipe. Okay. Not entirely sure why we wouldn't attack with Bloodcaster there, but why not? How quickly does our deck win? Not very, but I mean, anything can win in 4 minutes if you have card advantage. Tournament this past weekend went pretty well for me. I finished 9-6 and wound up like 48th place or something. 3, 6, 8, 10. Nope, good game. Oh well. Game 2 and 3, somewhat strongly demonstrating what happens if you play a card advantage deck and don't successfully find card advantage, I suspect. Ooh la la, playing number 3 on the ladder. I see no problem with this hand. Looks like we're probably playing against red-black Oni Cult, if I have to guess what turn 1 Seer Step Pathway means. I think I'm inclined to let Blood Tithe Harvester hit me. I really need to be able to syncopate a 3-drop. Okay, now that our opponent's played Dockside, I can Infernal Grasp this Blood Tithe Harvester because there's no reason to fear a 3-drop. Cool. I'm going to go ahead and play Kami of Bamboo Groves because I've just got a bunch of lands. And March of Wretched Sorrow and Syncopate get better if we put lands into play. Yes, opponent can draw cards. Our Force Spike is not going to be great against a 3-drop this turn, but if they didn't have a 3-drop to play last turn, maybe they don't have a 3-drop to play this turn. Synthesizer. Okay, don't care about that. Opponent has a land drop. But we have a Syncopate, so if any Sanguine Brushstrokes were to come down this turn, they would be firmly answered. Meathook Massacre for 1. I'm pretty sure I don't care enough to actually use a Syncopate on that. Don't think I want to Meathook yet either. Dockside Chef, I have to admit, gonna be pretty annoying for my March of Wretched Sorrow. I think I'm probably just supposed to develop Meathook Massacre. Which the opponent gets to draw a card by sacking one of their creatures here. It is as of yet unclear why the opponent decided they wanted to shock Shatterskull. I guess just to sack the blood? Which is a little surprising, but okay. Synthesizer again, sure. More lands for the opponent, sure. Dockside Chef. That's still really annoying for me as an archetype, isn't it? Alright, well, I do appreciate to discover the formula. You get to sack Synthesizer to Dockside Chef. Draw 2 cards. Yeah, good for them. Land drop. Successfully hit. Brushstroke. Don't want to play against that. So I guess we're going to have to counter it. Which then sets me up to march the Dockside Chef at the end of turn. Which I don't love, but does feel necessary. I could alternatively lead them with the Dockside Chef in play. And just get March of Wretched Sorrow discounted by Discover the Formula, but I feel like March is relatively useless enough with Dockside Chef in play that just using it up to get rid of the Chef here is fine. We can't find a Grasp off Discover because we've already used a Grasp. And I believe that's more or less the only 2-mana removal spell option we have to get rid of Dockside Chef. March isn't really a win con at any point where they have a Dockside Chef in play, though, right? Because I can't gain life if they can sack the target of March. So, one way or another, I have to do something to kill the Dockside Chef before any future marches are relevant. And I don't think I have too many other cards that I can use instead of March to do that. Alternatively, it's possible my opponent just disconnected, in which case this decision gets a lot easier because I don't actually have to make it. And then we can just say that whatever decision I was going to make would be the right one. But I'm definitely leaning towards I'm supposed to kill the Dockside Chef here, and they draw a card in response. Oh, hopefully the arena servers aren't down. Well, we got the points. Yay. That's not exciting, though. Alright, let's try taking the play, keeping a hand. I'm actually surprised at the number of hands we've had to keep so far that don't involve a ramp spell on turn 1 or turn 2. Considering we're playing 8 of them. Oh, and now my heart is in pain remembering that I'm not allowed to play with Growth Spiral currently. That hurts. Oh, yeah, right. This is Alchemy. Right. Yes. That's why we have Kami of Bamboo in our deck. Because this is Alchemy. What's the EV of opening packs as far as rares you want to get plus wildcard chances? I don't know exactly what that breaks down to. No, I don't think our last opponent saw my hand and decided to quit, because my hand was not stellar. Am I still in Washington? Yes, I am. Opening packs isn't much better if you're only trying to get wildcards, but opening packs is probably better if you have lots of cards from any given set that you still want to open in addition to wildcards. Here's the part where we get to cycle the Kami and have that maybe be good. I do love instant speed divinations. But what I really, really want is them to give me a 4-mana instant that conjures a land into my hand, or conjures a land and puts it into play and then draws 1 card. Basically, I want Chef Monitor that doesn't require me to play basics. That's what I really, really, really want. I mean, I could go blank here. I'm probably just supposed to go blank here for tempo's sake. Do I think black card draw 2 for 2 mana and instant speed is busted? It probably is, yes. I suspect that will turn out to be the case. It seems like the strongest card in this set, kind of by far. The annoying thing is that, like most of the spells that I'm not a huge fan of, it's a card that gets stronger in older formats, where mana costs get lower. The opportunity cost of playing it also becomes lower, which is the same problem that Luris had that made it kind of not a terribly fun Magic card. IMO? Alright. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, we're probably gonna Shigeki back, go blank, and Citystalker Connoisseur, and then, like, maybe something else here. Maybe the Kami? Probably a Kami. We can play a Kami and have it be a ramp spell. I really, really hate the fact that Kami of Bamboo Groves conjures a random forest and not matching art, because it makes me continuously think that this is a forest with an aura on it instead of 2 forests. Okay. Well, I guess I'm gonna go get this swamp. Do I use this floating mana with Shigeki right now? 1, 2... I can get 2 things and still hold up Syncopate for X equals 2. So I get Go Blank and Citystalker Connoisseur. Is that what I want to do? Probably not. Maybe it is. Yeah, I guess that's probably what I want to do. I'm going to assume that getting back the Kami isn't, like, mission critical right now. 1,300 gold mythic packs to help complete sets is the best announcement for today. See, if they gave me a 1,300 gold pack that was guaranteed to not have mythics or mythic wildcards, I might be excited. But a pack that's guaranteed to have a card I don't want to open is not really where I want to spend my money, because they've created an economy where I'm sitting on 40 mythic wild cards and 0 rare wild cards. And from what polls I've seen and done in the past, I think that is the case for the majority of players. That if you are not actively trying to 100% complete a collection, you wind up having way fewer rare wildcards than mythic ones. Having every card on Arena is pretty easy to do if you spend a lot of time drafting and you're good at drafting. The problem with that is you can't tell... Okay, I'm actually going to have to, think how to say this correctly. I don't think it matters how effectively the economy serves me as a player segment. I think that the important player segment when it comes to who the economy should most effectively function for is new-ish players who are starting out getting into the game and are building their first 2 to 4 constructed decks. Okay. That is fine with me. Our opponent discarded Cyclone Summoner, so they could, have anything in hand. Huh. So, in a similar vein, the only thing that I think, the only metric by which I think the functionality of the economy should be judged is how easy is it for a player to get, their 2nd through 4th constructed level decks. It is not relevant, in my opinion, how easy it is to complete a collection, because that is just functionally not what allows players to engage with the game. And I think that the most optimal version of the economy being accessible is about players playing the game, and whether the economy actively enables that or hinders it. To that extent, I would rather it... the argument of, well, you should just draft to build a good collection is not a truly functional argument, because it is based on the idea that the person drafting can go infinite with their drafts, or at least can go positive EV compared to just opening stuff. And that ignores the fact that the payout systems of draft are inherently less than zero sum, and that means that a bunch of players who are new and getting that advice and drafting and doing badly are getting worse value than if they just opened packs, and are ending up subsidizing the experienced entrenched players, which is literally the opposite of what I think it should actually be subsidizing, which is to say it should be subsidizing the players who we should most care about getting entrenched into the game. It's a similar reason to why I'm not super excited about the announcement that they were changing out the constructed event payouts. Maybe that's technically a good thing. They might just be raising the EV on the event, which would be cool, but that doesn't fundamentally fix any problems for me. We're just going to keep getting more hand hate spells and continue putting our opponent to 0 cards in hand. Even if 50% win rate draft is way better EV than opening packs. Yeah, but what about a 40% win rate and 30% win rate? Which is the types of win rate that the players who are most directly receiving that advice actually have. Let's go ahead and go blank, see what our opponent does. I would not like you to discover the formula, actually, opponent. another Discover the Formula. Cute. I'm really glad I went with Go Blank instead of Citystalker there. Let's go ahead and get back Shigeki, and then we can play Citystalker Connoisseur, and then we can also Shigeki some stuff back. I feel like I'm probably supposed to hold Infernal Grasp, because I kind of have a suspicion that my opponent is probably playing Hullbreaker Horror in their blue-white stuff deck. EV rate on constructed events is actually pretty easy to go infinite with. I expect it to go down. I would furthermore propose that the game and the ladder and the way in which players engage with it is more enjoyable for every single person involved if the economy systems do not incentivize winning. If you have to win more to make the grind more feasible, then what you end up encouraging people to do is play the same most competitive decks possible. There are spaces I think that is worth encouraging, but if you are doing that in every facet of the game, including every ladder system, or if you're only encouraged styles of play that are good for grinding currency, encourage that, then I think you actually wind up with a perverse incentive in the sense that it dissuades people from playing in a natural way that is more enjoyable, which is, in my opinion, playing jank decks and switching decks. If you're actively dissuading people from doing that, I think you generally end up with an experience that is less enjoyable for most players. Retrieve socks. All right, good timing. We can do that. Be right back. Okie dokie. So let's go with no Infernal Grasps, no March, no Meathook Massacre. We want to go blank, we want some Siphon Insights, we want Negates, we want Disdainful Strokes. What else do we want to cut then? We actually have like too many cards for this. I guess maybe this isn't a matchup where I need 4 go blanks. It's probably a matchup where I want 4 go blanks, but it's not technically a matchup where I need one. No, you know what? I guess I'd actually rather cut a Discover the Formula if I'm boarding in a bunch of Siphon Insights than a go blank. I'm also kind of nervous that maybe I should want Infernal Grasp if my opponent's on a bunch of Hullbreaker Horrors. I'm sure it'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen? But, so, I should also, I guess, add a caveat to my earlier statements of, in regards to the economy as a whole, I think that it's very easy to get hung up on the discussion of, like, nuances that are ultimately independently irrelevant. Conversations around something like, should the game have dusting? Should the game have better rewards for ladder? Should the game have better rewards for your end-of-season rank? Should the game have X and Y and B and C, and should the numbers on this thing cost less or more? We're going to mulligan for lands. I'm of the opinion that each of those conversational pieces individually are actually kind of meaningless, because when you step back and take a look at the whole thing, the economy is a giant Rube Goldberg machine that we are referring to as, quote, the economy, like summarizing a bunch of individual pieces as one giant machine. But the way to actually think of it is, it's basically like a Rube Goldberg machine with one input and one output. The input is how many dollars do you spend, and the output is how many decks do you get that you can play. Every other facet of the economy is an individual little knob or gear inside said Rube Goldberg machine that determines the exchange rate of input to output. And individually, you can do anything you want with any of those. I probably shouldn't be cycling this because the opponent can play a Wandering Emperor here that I'm not really prepared to deal with. And I just didn't need to expose myself to that. But luckily, opponent kind enough to not punish us for that. Time is an input as well. Sort of, but like, it's not an input that Wizards actually cares about. Time is a consideration you care about that only matters to Wizards in the sense that its influence dictates how much money you spend in. They don't actually care if you're spending 20 hours or 5 hours. They care about how that impacts the amount of money you spend. Okay, interestingly, the opponent doesn't have anything for 5 mana they could play at the end of turn, which means no more Memory Deluges and no more Wandering Emperors. So, if you see someone saying that such and such is a change Wizards should make, bear in mind that any individual change they're suggesting is actually, like, sort of irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. It's the idea that there should be a different ratio to how much money you put in to how much decks you get out is what everything breaks down to. And I guess my point is none of us should actually care which knobs get tweaked to change that ratio. The only thing that matters in the end is what the ratio is, which isn't actually totally clear right now, and where we think the ratio should wind up. As long as I'm making land drops, I don't really have to do anything else, but I don't know, why not jam Citystalker? What's the worst that could happen? It's actually kind of good for me to force my opponent to play Discover the Formula here, because then I can counter it. Mastery passes that get your players to play consistently and increase player retention is a relevant part of game design. I don't want to, like, knock that as something they don't care about. I mean to say, Wizards doesn't care about what the exchange rate of dollars to hours saved is. They only care in a derived sense about how much it feels good to save time by spending money, because that affects how much money you spend. But they could have any of a dozen different systems in play to dictate how much or how little time converts into resources. A little uncertain whether I would prefer to use Disdainful Stroke or Negate on that, but I think it's probably Negate. As a very successful free-to-play player, I'm definitely not the target audience for anything WotC does. Yeah, I mean, I assume WotC honestly has multiple different target audiences, and I hope very strongly that I am not the target audience, or at least I don't want me to be the target audience. I want Wizards' target audience to be new players who are getting into the game, and I want the system to primarily serve them. And that's less me as a competitive player saying that, and more me as a content producer saying that. That I expect that was what best serves the game in the long run. Their primary focus should be maintaining growth of player base. And I think that the economy currently is a major hindrance to that. It also happens that I think that's probably the type of terminology that is the most likely to find purchase in corporate mindsets. At some point, I feel like I'm just going to have to run Discover the Formula into Malevolent Hermit, and that makes me sad. I guess alternatively, I can just stick around with these Discover the Formulas until I make one more land drop. Okay, well, Shigeki works. What do I got here? Kami? Syncopate? Negate? Okay, cool. One, two, three. So we can get back our entire graveyard. I should be able to make that work. Memory Deluge. Oh no. Alright, well, what if I syncopate that because exiling it sounds fun? Guess this is a spot where I wish this Disdainful Stroke was a negate. Give cat? Unfortunately, this is the best I can do. Do you think a shell like this could be good in Historic since Kami searches for shocks? No, Kami does not search for shocks. In fact, I think one of the reasons Kami is good is that it does not search at all. Opponent, I'm not entirely certain this works the way you were hoping it worked. I do still get to counter that. And you also didn't get to search anything because that was a Syncopate for 5. But you did successfully tap down 2 of my mana. But yeah, the Kami specifically conjures the forests into your hand, which is strong because it means you don't actually have to put forests in your deck at all. Which, you know, is nice because you don't really want to put that many basic forests in your deck. Alright, land drop successfully found. So we can now resolve Discover the Formula if we wish to. This is one of the better Magic playing cats in the world. It is true. Alright, opponent wants to fire up with all the Storm Giants, which means we get to discover the formula. Oh, Shigeki's highlighted because it's legal to cycle Shigeki for 0. Sure. Alright, well let's go ahead and go blank our opponent. I'm sure they'll be delighted by this. They negate me. Okay. I will accept this. Then we're going to play Shigeki, because that's technically a ramp card, and then we're going to pass the turn. Also, it blocks Malevolent Hermit's kind of cool. Let's go ahead and Siphon Insight. I would discover the formula, but I can't discover the formula and hold up Disdainful Stroke here. Is that a lie? Could I have? I could have. Oh well. I could have a Disdainful Stroke, but why have a Disdainful Stroke when I can have a land drop instead? Then we're going to just make this land drop and pass the turn. Turns out it's very difficult for Control to do things when you have more lands than them, and more cards than them, and more card draw than them, and more counterspells than them. It makes their life tough. No, Shigeki, why have you betrayed me like this? This time around I definitely could have cast Discover the Formula, but oh well. The trouble is that I'm so tempted by stealing my opponent's lands. It just seems like a more entertaining thing to do than play my spells. Alright, well, we'll just continue passing. Hullbreaker Horror. Oh no. It's a shame that's counterable in this format. Fateful Absence. Okay. Is this the new Elden Ring patch? Yeah. I hear that they nerfed Hullbreaker Stompy. Alright. I'm willing to keep this. This is one of those awkward hands where we actually have Kami in our opener, but I don't really want to use Kami. Similarly, I want to play Barkchannel on blue and Clearwater Pathway on black. but I can't do either of those with this Kami. So I guess we're just not going to have lands for Meathook Massacre here. I'm sure it'll be fine. Does the economy impact me much? Do I spend in Arena? Yes and no. The economy has an impact on me because I do spend a lot of money, but the economy doesn't have a lot of impact on me because my spending is mostly inelastic and unlikely to change based on changes in Arena. Other than that, I would probably play more truly jank decks if there was an economy that made it easier for me to have cards. I still have to, like, keep the decks that I build sort of jank, because I only spend a couple of $100 a month. Does my MPL account get access to all the new cards from the Alchemy releases on day one? Presumably. I technically have an MPL account. I don't use it at all. So I spend money on everything I get and don't really get anything for free. I could technically use it. I just kind of choose not to. Alright, well, no Occult Anvil nonsense for the opponent. Painful Bond. Oh no, that card's good. I must counter this. I don't want my opponent to draw two. Do you feel like you have to spend more given that you're a content creator? Yes, in the sense that my particular brand of content creatoriness encourages me to play jank. I feel like that is something you have to spend a lot of money for. I don't think that every content creator, especially drafters, have to do that, but it also doesn't truly bother me very much. But yeah, at this point, I am the very, very small minority of players who the introduced buy rare wildcards for $50 bundle actually does benefit, because I'm at the point where I literally only want rare wildcards and nothing else. So the insulting part is actually that I have to buy mythic wildcards at the same time as rares, and I don't want to do that. So let's see. We're playing against Red-Black Unoccult Anvil. I forget what I actually am supposed to do against that. I'm assuming it's bring in negates, maybe. So, like, I'll cut Infernal Grasp and bring in a negate, I guess. Cut a Soul Shatter, bring in a negate. That probably sounds right. You're still better off buying the packs of the set you want to craft cards from. Maybe? Maybe not. The math's actually kind of close on that. It depends on how many of the cards you already have from that set. I would have thought that your collection would be fleshed out enough that buying packs would incidentally get enough of the cards that you want that it would be better. Maybe. The thing is that I pretty much exclusively play ladder, and that's like the worst possible time to value ratio you can get. But I've never really looked to maximize that before. This hand's actually real bad if we don't draw an untapped land. What matchups do you bring in the Purveyor for? Any kind of creature-based aggro deck that just can't handle me playing a big blocker. Ranked's EV isn't necessarily terrible. Well, this sure was a game, but I guess we're going to keep this in the video because there's interesting discussion happening while no game is happening. Ranked's EV is sort of terrible in the sense that it is not good in terms of the ratio of time spent to currency earned, but it is actually the best ratio you can get in terms of money put into currency earned, because it's hard to beat 0 into actual money. So if you have a horrible win rate, it is free, and not a lot of other entry things are free. It just so happens that if you have a good win rate, it's the worst possible thing you can be doing. And my win rate is decent. So it's probably not the most informed choice for me to be making, but I don't know, it seems like, I guess, it's better clickbait, maybe? Although I've been doing this for years now, so I think maybe I'm just a person who gets very stuck in their ways. Alright, well, we get to do the commie stuff. Ow. Kami of Bamboo Groves lines up very excellently with Wildaran Epic here, if I'm being entirely honest. And I do feel like being entirely honest with you. Alright, so in the vein of me being slightly confused, because when am I not? Is Granblue Fantasy a fighting game or a different free-to-play mobile game that the opponent's just advertising in this free-to-play mobile game? The struggle here is that I want to cycle this Kami and I also want to play it. I just want to do both. Maybe I'm just supposed to march the Blood Tithe Harvester? Oh, we're gonna cycle it, I guess. Apparently it's a browser game. Browser game is just a very fancy way of saying mobile game, though, isn't it? In the sense that, like, technically BlueStacks is a browser client. Yeah, I'm willing to make that trade. Thank you, opponent. I mean, that's a lot of blood tokens our opponent's got. Does make me sort of sad. Alright, opponent, I would like you to lose some of those cards. And unfortunately, 2 of them are lands. My life goes down. We can only hope the opponent doesn't find Sanguine Brushstroke. That's the objective. Onicult Anvil is not Sanguine Brushstroke. That's a victory. Alright, play Hall of the Storm Giants. Play this while our opponent's tapped out. Kill the Blood Artist, because leaving them with that in play doesn't sound good. Gain some life, lose some life. And now we hope to top deck something reasonable. Something card advantage-y, we should hope. Yeah, Soken's Smelter's gonna be annoying. I might not be able to beat that. Go down to 8. Alright, I think I want to give the opponent the opportunity to sack something with Onicult Anvil here at the end of turn. They choose not to. Experimental Synthesizer. Yeah, it also makes me sad. Alright, 2 damage to Soken's Smelter. Gain some life. Down to 7. March of Wretched Sorrow is a pretty good draw. Am I willing to use that this turn, or would I rather set up all the Storm Giants? I'd probably rather gain the 6 life while my opponent's tapped out. Soken's Smelter. Painful once more. Oh, I would love if my opponent can't play that Brushstroke. Oh, they can't play that Brushstroke. Oh, love to see it. Probably still dead, though. There's all those Meathook Massacres just in time to not be relevant. Ah, if we had drawn one of those Meathooks for the turn, we probably would have won that game. Harsh. Harsh, but ultimately fair, I suppose. Alright, so we want Negates, we don't want Infernal Grasp, we don't want Soul Shatter. I gotta say, so far the most awkward part of this has been that playing Pathways with our Arboreal Grazer is super weird. That, and that I'm still not actually convinced this deck is good against Sanguine Brushstroke. And mostly I just want a deck that's good against Sanguine Brushstroke. One of these days we're going to have to figure out how to build a deck that is just, like, hyper-linearly focused around beating Sanguine Brushstroke. Alright, I'll take it. I mean, I suppose we can technically just go back to playing 4 Annuls. That is a way to be favored against Sanguine Brushstroke, sort of. Yasharn might be pretty reasonable, that's true. That's true. Should I be playing Bala Ged Recovery as a land? Yeah, probably. The trouble is I'm not actually entirely convinced that it's easy to hold up a null if we're playing around having turn 1 bamboo. I'm assuming it's better to get a forest than a green pathway in this spot. I'm not completely confident that's actually true, but I think it's probably true. Alright, then we can play Shigeki again, I suspect. Because we can still hold up Syncopate for Sanguine Brushstroke. Cemetery Gatekeeper. Oh, that's technical graveyard hate. Cute. Plays a land. Huh. Okay, sure. So playing lands does damage to me now, huh? That's moderately inconvenient. Could bounce the Gatekeeper, I guess. I don't actually think I want to do that, though. Should I bother go blanking the opponent here? Leaves me with Syncopate for 2. Nah, probably not supposed to do that. Probably just supposed to activate Shigeki. We could try to figure out some ramp list with Yasharn and Farewell. That might be doable. I wonder about an Abzan Shigeki list without the blue for counterspells? Although, we'd need to find replacement card advantage, I suppose. Do you want to try to kill my Shigeki opponent? I will just respond by putting it back in my hand. Why is this Skyturtle so glowy? Is every gold card glowy like this? With, like, the animation on the pixels? I feel like I'm going crazy. This wasn't a thing before, was it? Or has it always been? No. We can't activate Shigeki yet. We still need Shigeki to block. It's the enchantment treatment. Okay, I'm willing to believe that. So let's see. I think we're just going to go ahead and play Citystalker Connoisseur. Okay, opponent doesn't have anything more expensive than a 2-drop in hand. Makes me not super interested in playing Go Blank yet. In that case, I think I'm just going to march for 1, targeting the Gatekeeper, play my land drop, and play Shigeki. I don't actually care if they kill Shigeki here, because I've got the Skyturtle in hand already. Is Shigeki's border animated? Oh, it is. I just couldn't tell because it wasn't yellow. And the top bit around the legendary frame up at the top left doesn't glow, and that's like with those white Sparkle is the spot that it was most noticeable to me. Okay. Neat. No, my Shigeki. It's dead. And after we went through all that effort to play those cards. Alright, I would like my opponent's hand gone. So we'll start with that. Well, some cards that are moderately useful for our opponent removed. Seems fine. Play some more blue mana, why not? Pass the turn. Presumably the opponent fires up the Hive of the Eye Tyrant, goes to remove our Shigeki, we reanimate it in response. I'm assuming the opponent doesn't bother attacking with the Blood Tithe Harvester. I don't think they want to make this trade. They want to make this trade. Okay. Cool. That makes both of us happy, because I also wanted to make this trade. Meathook Massacre gone? I mean, I guess I could return that. Oh, I could also return Discover the Formula? Maybe that's better than returning Shigeki. It's probably not. I'm probably just supposed to return Shigeki. Epicure, sure. Alright, let's go get Shigeki. 1, 2, 3. 3 things get brought back by Shigeki. So we cycle Chemy of Bamboo Groves and play to land. We're just getting 2 things back. That doesn't sound particularly appealing. So we get Skyturtle, March, Discover. Alright, well, I guess we're playing the Kami as a blocker then. One, two, three. Back Skyturtle, March, Discover. Block Epicure. Trade with Epicure. I wonder if it's actually better for me to blow up the artifacts there, actually. Possibly. Possibly, almost certainly. Alright, so we can discover the formula here. And then, how much can we march for? Exactly 3 enough to kill the Hive of the Eye Tyrant? I wonder if it's just worth it to gain more life, though. I'm gonna guess it's probably worth it to just gain more life. They can exile the Shigeki here. I think I'm okay with that. I want them to be down 1 mana, so that they can't have 2 mana to sacrifice that Hive. And we're just gonna do 8 damage to the Hive and gain 8 life, and that's probably good. And now they're low on mana, so I can discover the formula, plus syncopate something next turn. Or I could just go blank now. Technically that gives them the opening to top deck something. I guess I could go blank and not discover the formula. Oh, I can go, I have enough mana to discover the formula at the end of their turn, so that works. Culling Ritual is something that's very tempting to me. The trouble is that it doesn't clear out Sanguine Brushstroke, but maybe because it clears out tokens, I'm not supposed to care. I'm uncertain. Deadly Dispute. Oh, that's gross. I get to draw 2 cards, make a token, and still have Occult Anvil up? Okay, so they can't really animate a land here, but they do anyway. So mostly I'd like to march here. I do believe that's probably what I have to do. March for 6 on Den of the Bugbear, and then hope to top deck something. I don't think I have enough time to do anything else. I do have to hope that they don't have a way to sacrifice the Den here off their top deck, or I'll be in trouble. Okay. Well, they had a way to use the mana, unfortunately, but not a way to sacrifice anything. Shigeki's cool. So I'm currently taking 7 damage going to 1. That should be fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can Shigeki for 4, or I can Shigeki for 3 if I play Kami, which plays around another Onicult Anvil. That's probably worth it to me. And then I actually just get to get rid of this Go Blank with a blood token, which is also worthwhile to me. Alright, down to 3. What else you got for me, opponent? So let's get back Skyturtle. And they have stuff they can't sacrifice, so a March. I'm sort of tempted to say the other March as well, actually. But I probably need to get Discover... No, I've got Shigeki Skyturtle loops. I don't need to get Discover the Formula here. We can just get the other March. And then I guess we're actually going to loop away a Syncopate now, because exiling Go Blank to March of Wretched Sorrow is useful. Alright, and I probably want to do this for all but 3. Or maybe all but 4, actually. So let's do this for 6. 6 damage to this, which leaves me with the ability to Syncopate for 4, or to Skyturtle plus March, exiling Go Blank, if needs be. Although I don't think that I'm going to need to do that. Duress. Okay, well in that case, I might as well do this now. Then the Duress hits the Syncopate, which I don't really care about. And we take some damage. I like that we're getting to fight the opponent's Inevitability Drain engine with our Inevitability Life Gain engine. They should not have done this Onicult Anvil at sorcery speed, because it lets me sorcery speed a March. Because they can't sacrifice anything in response. Or I can also just top deck Meathook. That's also stellar. Alright, seems like a good spot to be. Sanguine Brushstroke, alright, that's the worst spot we could be. One, two, three. Okay, opponent concedes. We were just going to keep looping March of Wretched Sorrows over and over and over. That is what was going to happen at that point. Maybe I am just underrating Culling Ritual, because like maybe just if we blow up all their blood tokens, then them having the Sanguine Brushstroke still in play just doesn't really matter. Well, I definitely don't want to mulligan a hand that has 2-drop interaction. Gatekeeper exiling nothing. I can probably live with that. Alright, negates this early in the game is kind of when I think I mostly want them. I'm definitely going to syncopate a creature, especially an aggressive creature. I do have to be a little bit mindful of the fact that my opponent has Den of the Bugbear, which I'm not horribly a fan of. I do think I actually wind up negating Synthesizer, weirdly enough here, because the opponent seems kind of constrained on black mana. So the likelihood that they play like something else I want to negate here is a little low. Okay, well, Shigeki actually is sort of a stellar draw, because we still have negate up anyway, and it blocks Cemetery Gatekeeper. Did they bring in removal spells that would hit Shigeki? That seems unlikely. Oh, well, I will negate Deadly Dispute when my opponent is stuck on black mana. That is just a high EV line. Okay. When it gets rid of Discover the Formula. I am sad. Oh, but they found black mana. We will play Citystalker Connoisseur, even if it means exposing Shigeki to more removal spells that the opponent already could have played but chose not to. We will attack with Shigeki, because there is nothing better to do. And somehow we have now become the slightly more aggressive deck. Creature lands abound for the opponent, however. Make our land drops, pass the turn. Leaving back Shigeki, mostly because I want to activate it, but also in this spot, if the opponent decides to activate Hive the Eye Tyrant, we can double block with Shigeki and Citystalker Connoisseur, and then bounce Shigeki after the Menace has already been blocked. That is a trade I am willing to make. They presumably are willing to exile Discover the Formula, understandably. But Shigeki gets to mill many things, some of which could be Discover the Formulas. No, but Skyturtle. That's cool. Alright. I've traded for. Land drop. Successfully made. Do I want a 4th blue source or a 4th black source? Probably the 4th black source, most likely. Alright, so we get to Shigeki for 3 things, which should be decent. Opponent animates Den of the Bugbear. Don't get to get back anything meaningful. No, just Skyturtle, negate, Citystalker. Alright. Fine by me. 2/3, Citystalker, negate, Skyturtle. Play Citystalker. They Voltage Surge the Citystalker. Exiling nothing. Interesting. Is it worth it to me to protect that? Why not just block the den? Did I have the option to do that somehow? Oh, Hall. Yeah, well, maybe that was better. I do have creature lands that do things. That's true. I'm probably supposed to negate that. It's disappointing, but likely correct. Alright, let's loot away this Kami, because we could, like, make a land drop, technically. Let's loot away this Kami, because we could, like, make a land drop, technically. Alright, well, we failed. Willing to trade off with the den. Then we can Meathook to clean up. And then we can Colossal Skyturtle back our Shigeki. Harvester says the opponent. What else do they have to say? Brushstroke. Ugh. Icky. Alright. Fair enough. That's a turn. Alright, let's get back Shigeki. Let's Meathook for 2. I could play the Shigeki here. It would only be mostly entirely incorrect. Soken's Smelter gives me the opening to Syncopate for 3, which doesn't do much other than stop them from making a token this turn, which is probably worth using this Syncopate for. Okay, this is certainly awkward, because we don't actually have any life gain things we can go get right now, which is most of what I would want to be doing at this point. Yes, maybe I'm just supposed to activate Hall and block the Den this turn, if that's what they choose to fire up. No, they go for Gatekeeper instead. Okay. Whoa! Oh, that doesn't target. Oh, okay, I see. I was expecting them to choose the target, so I kind of clicked that at the wrong time. Okay, they don't attack anything into Hall. So let's get Skyturtle. Yeah, this is actually kind of tricky. I don't have good targets to go get. I guess Negate? Like, what, a land? Probably Citystalker. And probably not Negate. Probably Citystalker land? Yeah, Go Blank really not useful right now. Alright, so let's go ahead and play Citystalker. And I guess let's loot away a Go Blank. Okay. Well, this is a pretty bad spot to be in. I'm actually just going to have a very hard time if they fire up Den. Not doing that, thankfully. Down to 10. So what we really need right now is another Meathook. Do I have another Meathook? Okay, I guess I'm probably just supposed to Meathook here. So we take 5. Go to 1. Oh, that's actually really annoying that I'm forced to block the 3-1 here. Huh. Harsh. Well, now we get to hold up the Hall. Oh. Also, I probably should have killed the Soken's Smelter. I didn't realize that had 1 less, or 1 more toughness. Potentially it's still correct to have not killed it. Probably not. There's probably no way that's correct, but like, holding up Hall here is sort of meaningful. But almost certainly wrong regardless. Okay. I do like top decking. I forgot that we had like 4 marches in our deck, because that's like actively a pretty good card. That said, I think I still have to hold on here. I don't want to sorcery speed this march and let my opponent attack with Den. If my opponent top decks a sacrifice spell, they're incentivized to play it. So I don't think I get blown out while holding on to march very often here. 3, 6, 9, 10. Gaining 10 life is pretty good. I'm sorry, 11 life. Then the opponent attacks with Sokenzan, doesn't attack with Sokenzan. Works for me. Go blank to get rid of that card in their hand, because whatever it is, I don't want them having it. And then we'll make land drops, because now it's a top deck war. Who wins a top deck war? Time will tell. Could be it's not me. That's a possibility. It's probably me, though. Attacking with Hall is better than passing? I don't know about that. I think their deck is extremely capable of just, like, making infinity chump blockers off a single top deck. I don't know that me taking damage is necessarily worth it. It might be. I might be playing too passively there, but I feel like the second they can make 1/1/1 a turn with, like, an Oni Cult Anvil, all the times that I took damage while attacking with Hall were, like, become retroactively invalidated. Like, it doesn't matter if I get their life total to 5. If I have no way of actually doing the last 5 points of damage the second they find a way to make a 1/1 every turn. But, I'm not completely convinced that I'm correct on that. It's just, that's definitely where my default assumption lies.